Okay, so good morning everyone. We will proceed with lesson 1.5 for week 3. Okay, so dia berkaitan dengan isomerism. So in this subtopic, you akan belajar berkenaan cara nak classify and then draw constitutional isomers lah. Okay, so constitutional isomers tu terdiri daripada 3, iaitu chain isomer, positional isomer dan functional group isomer. So first of all, you kena faham apa maksud setiap isomer tu dan macam mana nak lukis. Kita akan belajar tu selepas ni. Okay, so first we must know apa tu maksud isomerism. Okay, so isomerism means chemical compound that have the same molecular formula. Same molecular formula maksudnya bilangan atom yang ada dalam compound tu. Contohnya kalau ada carbon, hydrogen, oksigen dan sebagainya, bilangan atom yang ada dalam compound tu adalah sama, tetapi different structural formula. That means cara dia bonded in the compound tu, dia punya structure tu is different lah. Okay, alright. So isomer ni terbahagi kepada dua sebenarnya, iaitu constitutional isomer and stereoisomer. Okay, so stereoisomer ni nanti you akan belajar dengan lebih detail once you enter PST. Okay, so nanti you akan tengok stereoisomer tu terdiri daripada cis trans isomer dengan enantiomer lah. Okay, but for now we just focus on constitutional isomer. Okay, so constitutional isomer apa maksud dia? Chemical compound that differs in their structural formula. Structural formula. That means in terms of how it is bonded lah to each other. Okay, different spatial arrangement of atoms. Okay, different arrangement of atoms. Okay, so ada 3 jenis yang you kena tahu macam yang kita tengok tadi. Pertama sekali chain isomer, next is positional isomer, and then ketiga adalah functional group isomer. Okay, alright. Okay, before we proceed, okay, you must tahu apa tu maksud dan perbezaan antara molecular formula dengan structural formula. Okay, so molecular formula ni shows the actual number of all the different atom yang ada dalam molecule tu. Okay, so that is the meaning of molecular formula. Shows the actual number of all the different atoms in a molecule. Okay, dan structure pula. Okay, structural formula. Structure, they show how the atoms in a molecule are bonded to each other. Okay, so let me just give you a very simple example lah. A very simple example would be let me just give you methanol. Okay, alright. So methanol is CH3OH. Sometimes they can give it like this also. So you must know that this is the molecular formula for alcohol lah. Okay, kalau structural means we show the bonds. Okay, how the atoms are bonded to each other. So you have 3 hydrogens bonded to the carbon, and you have 1 OH lah. Okay, so I hope you are clear apa perbezaan molecular formula dan structural formula. Okay, okay, so first we will look at chain isomer. Okay, chain isomer tu dia berbeza in terms of dia punya carbon chain. Okay, kalau ada apa-apa functional group dalam chain isomer, contohnya chlorine ke, and then alcohol ke dan sebagainya, functional group dia tu masih sama, dan position functional group tu pun sama. Okay, so dia tak effect. Just kalau dalam chain isomer, apa yang effect adalah carbon chain tu sahaja. Okay, alright. Okay, so they have a different carbon skeleton. Okay, so chain isomer ni biasanya dia melibatkan straight chain dengan branch lah. So kita akan tengok macam mana nak buat chain isomer. Okay, alright. So they give you a simple example here. Okay, melibatkan butane lah. Okay, so butane is C4H10. Okay, kalau you tak nampak, let me just draw the expanded form for you. Okay, C4H10. Okay, so they ask you to draw a chain isomer for butane. Ni butane C4H10. Okay, so ni adalah dia punya chain isomer lah. Kita pendekkan carbon dia jadi 3. Okay, and then we bring one of the carbon to down here. Okay, so I lukis dalam bentuk expanded so that you can see dengan lebih jelas lah. Okay, alright. Okay, so this is the chain isomer chain isomer for butane. Okay, kalau ni sebenarnya nama dia 2-methyl propane, but again don't worry, you will learn about the naming after this lah once kita masuk topik hydrocarbon nanti. Okay, okay, another thing yang Sir nak highlight kat sini. Okay, let's say lah okay, let's say if you draw the structure in this way, katakan dia sudah buat chain isomer kan, you buat macam ni. Okay, okay, so structure yang dia lukis kat sini ni bukan chain isomer untuk butane sebab kalau you perasan apa yang saya lukis sebenarnya, saya just bengkokkan sahaja carbon yang dekat ujung ni. So dia punya straight chain tu masih sama, iaitu 4. Ni kadang-kadang yang student selalu careless lah. Okay, it's a simple thing. Okay, so just see here the structure that I've drawn down here. This is not a chain isomer for C4H10. It's actually the same structure yang sama, cuma you bengkokkan dekat ujung. Bila you bengkokkan, itu bukan maksudnya isomer. Dia punya arrangement, dia punya bonding semua masih sama. Okay, whereas kalau you tengok untuk ni, sorry I missed the hydrogen here. Okay, kalau untuk 2-methyl propane ni, 2-methyl propane, you see the longest carbon chain is 3. Dia berbeza, and then you ada branch ni ada second carbon. Okay, so this is considered as a chain isomer for C4H10. Okay, now let's have a look at positional isomer. So keyword dia adalah position lah. Okay, alright. So positional isomer maksudnya position dia yang berubah. Position apa? Position functional group dia yang berubah lah. Okay, so we just have a look at the complete definition. Isomers which have the same carbon skeleton. Maksudnya yang main carbon chain tu panjang dia adalah sama. Okay, and they belong to the same homologous series. Okay, but differ in the position of the functional group. Okay, alright. Okay, so differ in the position of functional group for compounds with the same number of carbon atoms. So kena tahu perbezaan dia adalah pada position functional group tu sendiri. Okay, so let's say they have given an example here. Okay, positional isomers for C3H9N. Okay, and one more thing, always remember bila they ask for a particular isomer, for example positional isomer, you must at least give a pair, maksudnya 2 lah ataupun lebih, bukan satu saja, sebab you nak tunjuk perbezaan tu. Okay, so you must give at least 2 or more lah, depending on the structure. Okay, so what I'll do here, I'll draw in expanded form so that you can see better lah. Okay, so C3H9N. Okay, this one is actually amine lah. Okay, amine. So you have, okay, so amine akhir dengan NH2. So let me just fill up with carbon first. Okay, can always double check to make sure that there is 8 electrons around your carbon. Bilangan hydrogen semua mencukupi. Okay, so now if you check, okay, so we have 9 hydrogen, 1 nitrogen and 3 carbon lah, enough lah for C3H9N. Okay, so positional isomer maksudnya functional group dia. Okay, sekarang functional group kita adalah amino di carbon pertama. Okay, so what we do, we shift it to the second carbonnya dekat tengah-tengah sini lah. Okay, kita tak boleh bawa dia pergi sebelah hujung sini. Sebab apa? Bila kita bawa functional group sebelah hujung sini, sebelah carbon sini, sebelah kiri pula kita kira sebagai satu lah. Okay, so what we do, just draw again. So always remember dia punya carbon main chain tu, bilangan carbon dia kekal sama. Okay, so and then bond pun kena betul, bond antara carbon dengan nitrogen, okay, sorry, just fill up the hydrogen. Okay, alright. Okay, so the two structures that I have drawn here, they are the positional isomers untuk C3H9N. Okay class, okay, now let's have a look at the third type of isomer, which we call as functional group lah. Okay, so keyword dekat sini adalah functional group. So functional group isomer maksudnya isomer di mana bilangan atom bilangan atom dalam compound tu semua sama, tetapi functional group dia berbeza. Okay, so isomers which have the same molecular formula but contain different functional group. Okay, ataupun dalam ayat lain kita boleh cakap same molecular formula but different homologous series lah. Okay, alright. And as I've mentioned earlier, when they ask chain isomerism ke position isomerism or functional group isomerism, it describes the relationship between two or more isomers. Okay, alright, so always remember it involves two or more isomers. So you can lukis dua atau lebih lah. Okay, alright, so for you to be able to understand ataupun answer this type of question yang melibatkan functional group isomer, it is useful for you to know the general formula tu, dan apa functional group ataupun class of compound yang ada general formula tu. Okay, for example lah, okay, so you must know, okay, alcohol dengan ether, okay, dia orang punya general formula adalah CnH2nO. Okay, CnH2nO. Okay, next aldehyde dengan ketone pula, okay, general formula dia adalah CnH2nO lah. Okay, so biasanya kalau dia akan bagi dalam bentuk molecular formula, daripada molecular formula tu kita kena tentukan apa dia punya general formula. Okay, daripada general formula tu kita boleh tentukan apa class of compound yang ada lah. Okay, alright, so from the molecular formula dia, okay, you tentukan apa general formula. From there kita boleh tentukan apa class of compound yang ada. Okay, next, for formula general formula CnH2n, kita boleh ada alkene dengan cycloalkane. Okay, and then last sekali CnH2nO2, okay, class of compound yang boleh ada dengan general formula ni adalah carboxylic acid dan ester. Okay, now let's have a look at the example given melibatkan functional group isomers. Okay, so pertama ni dia ada bagi a compound with a molecular formula C5H10 lah. So kita work backwards, maksudnya kita tengok dulu C5H10 ni. So from here we can work out that the general formula is CnH2n. Bila kita tahu general formula dia CnH2n, kita kena tahu bahawa class of compound yang boleh ada adalah alkene and cycloalkane. Okay, alright, so they've given you the structural formula untuk dua isomer yang ada, but again I will draw in expanded form so that you can see it better lah. Okay, so pertama kita buat untuk alkene tu dulu, alkene dengan 5 carbon. Okay, alright. Okay, so the double bond position tu doesn't matter lah. Okay, for example, let's say put between carbon 1 and 2 Okay, dan kita penuhkan hydrogen dia. Okay, pastikan keliling setiap carbon tu ada 4 bond lah, single bond ataupun double bond. Keliling dia kena ada total 4 Okay, and then we just fill up with hydrogen. Okay, so we just double check make sure carbon 5, hydrogen kita adalah 10 Okay, so next we must draw an isomer. Okay, functional group isomer cycloalkene. So cycloalkene dengan 5 carbon lah. So 1 2. So shape dia lebih kurang macam pentagon lah 4 5. Okay, alright. And then kita penuhkan dengan hydrogen untuk setiap carbon tu lah. So if you see each carbon tu dia dah form 2 bonds with their neighboring carbon So kita boleh isi another 2 hydrogen lah for each carbon. Okay, so you yourself see, kalau setiap carbon kita isi 2 hydrogen. Okay, kalau ada 5 carbon kita akan isi in total 10 hydrogen So which means in total we have 5 carbons and 10 hydrogen lah. C5H10. Okay, alright. Okay, now let's have a look at the second example Okay, so dia beri kita molecular formula compound tu adalah C5H10O. So they ask you to draw functional group isomer lah. Okay, so again kita work backwards. Okay, so we see kita boleh dapat general formula dia daripada molecular formula ni, iaitu CnH2nO. Okay, CnH2nO. Okay, daripada general formula CnH2nO, you kena tahu class of compound yang ada adalah ketone dan aldehyde. Okay, so kita kena bagi satu compound dengan class of compound untuk aldehyde, dan another one for class of compound untuk ketone dengan 5 carbon Okay, so let us draw the aldehyde first. So I'll draw in expanded form for you tak apa, structure given here ada sedikit kesilapan sebab if you see the total number of carbon is 5 but in the structure given here is only 3 carbon lah. So later make correction to your notes I'll just cancel it off here Okay, alright. So we will do for aldehyde first. Okay, so you must know aldehyde, it ends with C double bond OH lah. Okay, C double bond OH. Okay, and then I just fill them up lah with hydrogen. Okay, just fill them up with hydrogen. Okay, so again we double check make sure carbon is 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and then our hydrogen is 10 Okay, next for ketone pula. Okay, so ketone you must know the C double bond O must be between carbon. So tak kisah dekat mana position dia, as long the C double bond O is between 2 carbons lah. Okay, so I'll just draw smaller a bit 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so let's say I place the double bond O here. Okay, the rest I just fill up with hydrogen lah. Okay, okay, so there you go. Okay, the two functional group isomers for with molecular formula C5H10O melibatkan class of compound aldehyde dan ketone. Okay, alright. Okay, next we look at another example. Okay, so dia bagi molecular formula dia C2H6O. Okay, and from here you should be able to work out dia punya general formula dia, iaitu CnH2n plus 2. Okay, in this case kalau N kita adalah 2 untuk hydrogen, 2 darab 2 adalah 4, 4 campur 2 adalah 6 lah, so correct and oxygen. Okay, so you must know with this general formula, class of compound yang you kena ada adalah ether and alcohol. Okay, ether and alcohol with 2 carbon Okay, so I'll start with alcohol first. Okay, alcohol, always remember it ends with OH. and then I just fill up with hydrogen lah. Okay, just fill up with hydrogen. Okay, so you can double check again, make sure bilangan carbon, hydrogen and oxygen tu adalah betul Okay, next is ether. Okay, so ether dia ada COC single bond COC single bond, and then we just fill up the carbon lah. Okay, we just fill up the carbon. Okay, since just 2 carbon sahaja, okay, we just fill up the surrounding with hydrogen Okay, alright. Okay, so ini adalah ethanol ethanol. Ini adalah dimethyl ether nama dia lah. Okay, so as you can see satu adalah class of compound alcohol, another one is ether COC. Okay, and finally we have an example involving carboxylic acid and ester lah. Okay, so again we work backwards. Kita tengok dulu molecular formula dia, C3H6O2. So we can deduce the general formula as CnH2nO2. Okay, and from here you must know it involves carboxylic acid and ester. Okay, alright. So first kita buat dulu untuk carboxylic acid. Okay, so carboxylic acid dia akhir dengan COOH lah. So one tu adalah C double bond O, another one is single bond OH, and then we just fill up the remaining with hydrogen. Okay. Okay, so again we can double check our bilangan carbon, hydrogen dan oxygen. Okay, next is ester. Okay, ester ni dia ada C double bond O dan O lah. Okay, with carbon. Okay, so you see since we have used 2 carbon, our another carbon will be here lah. Okay, and then as usual just fill up with hydrogen. Okay, okay, so again we can check. Okay, bilangan carbon, hydrogen dan oxygen semua mencukupi. So this one is an example of functional group isomer involving carboxylic acid and ester. Okay, now let's have a look at the DIY question given here. Okay, so the first question, they asked to classify the constitutional isomers present in the following compound. So if you notice they give you in pairs lah. Setiap soalan tu dia bagi structures tu in pairs lah. Baru you boleh identify what type of isomerism exists between them lah. Okay, so again if they ask you to draw, also you must give at least 2 or more depending on the structure Okay, so constitutional isomers ni kena recall balik terdiri daripada 3, iaitu pertama sekali chain isomerism, second is positional isomerism, dan ketiga adalah functional group isomerism. Okay, so I've already explained to you how to identify each type of isomers. So based on that, I want you to answer these questions lah. Okay, what type of isomers that exist between the pairs given whether chain isomerism ke positional or functional group isomerism. Okay, again the second one also it's the same thing lah. They asked to classify the constitutional isomers present in the following compound. Okay, again sometimes kalau kita tak nampak the isomers clearly tu, we can draw them in expanded form lah kalau tak nampak lah Okay, and finally for DIY3, okay, so they give you a compound here. Okay, the class of compound is alcohol Okay, so they asked to draw an isomer showing functional group isomer. Okay, so you should be able to identify lah okay, apa class of compound yang boleh ada same general formula dengan alcohol but different functional group, iaitu ether lah. Okay, ether. and then they ask you to draw a chain isomer. Okay, so if you notice now, the structure given here is in the chain form lah. So yang chain ni kita boleh bawa dia pergi naik ke atas sebagai main carbon chain and then positional isomer. Okay, positional isomer apa kita buat? Kita just tukar kedudukan OH tu, tapi yang branch kita jangan usik okay, alright. Because positional isomer means just the change in the position of the functional group. Kalau ada branch ke apa, dia masih kekal sama.